in West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, it's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City, and Bill, you and Jeff Crank, he's a good sport, man.
Oh, he's fantastic.
He can give just as good as he can take.
Yes, he can, and it was great off air that we were talking. That's like, you know the dance.
Oh, man. Well, no, you guys. Yeah. So then the fist came out, and I think he pulled your shirt over your head, and then
there's going to be some pictures you're going to have to see. Yeah. The thing is that I really enjoy it. I love how he thinks, and I love his openness, and because he's done radio before, there's a way that he and I can interact that you can't with most elected officials, because, again, as I told him, he understands the music that the bandstand is playing, and so we're already dance partners. So we're halfway there already. So he gets it, and I love how he's willing to go back and forth. I value his time with us more than I could ever express to him in person. It was fantastic. That was so cool.
Thank you to Representative Jeff Crank for spending the whole hour with us.
It's amazing. That was so cool.
I'm putting up with you.
I know. That's the thing that surprises me. You, I can see him spending hours and hours with. Me, same room. Oh, geez, barely 5 minutes. So that's fantastic.
And at one point, I felt like he was like, Jeff, get out of the way. Like,
yeah. He and I started going, and I'm like, oh, wait, I got to remember my partner. Yeah, there's times.
Well, and then there's times I try to kind of reduce the tension a little bit. And just kind of jump in and go,
what was
this? Hold on. But no, he was like, get.
Yeah, he was.
This is you and me.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Yes.
Golden Dome.
And
I'm the chair of the Golden Dome caucus.
And he did give me the business, and we've got that, so that'll be coming in a picture. So you got to watch Jeff's Twitter account. Yes, I know it's X, but I'm going to say Twitter.
X.com/Jeff Hunt.
Yeah, it's Twitter, but still. But there's a great picture coming.
I'm just going to make an X.com/Bill Thorpe.
Please do. Just my experience on the platform is I say things and people yell. I'm like, yeah, I did that as parent for years and years and years. I finally got into conversations with them. I'm over the yelling, but we'll see what happens.
All right, this hour, we've got a lot to talk about. Nearly 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported under Donald Trump. Woohoo! Which is leading to higher wages. This is an opinion piece in the New York Post. We'll talk about this. Are reasonable illegal immigrants getting out of the country? I think so. We've said this from the beginning. I don't think they're going to make a fuss about it. I don't think that they're going to announce it. They're just quietly going to leave because they understand if ICE can pick up your entire family over a traffic incident like what happened in Georgia, ran a red light, lo and behold, entire family deported. Yeah, that message is getting out. It's getting out to immigrant family communities. They're heading back to their country of origin quietly. I think it's a beautiful thing that's happening. So we'll talk about that and more. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Tuesday morning, 60 and mostly cloudy. In Denver, expecting a high of 74 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
What you're watching in real time is Peace Through Strength and America First. Our job is to be strong. We are postured defensively in the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal.
Def Hegseth. Pete Hegseth on Fox News Channel last night. 47 is back at the White House after cutting short his trip to the G7 summit in Canada as the conflict between Israel and Iran shows no signs of easing up. He's expected to meet with his National Security Council this morning, a day after warning that everyone should immediately evacuate the Iranian capital of Tehran. a city with a population of nearly 10 million. Early this morning on Air Force One, 47 said he's tried to negotiate already with Iran.
Are you open to negotiating with the Iranians right now, or do you want to wait?
I don't know. I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. Their cities have been blown to pieces and lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in a mood to negotiate now.
They said he's not thinking about a ceasefire. He wants an end. And Iran can make it happen.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here?
An end. A real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
So something that would be permanent?
Yeah. Or giving up entirely.
Is that okay too? Are you close there? Is that possible in the next 24
Why not? Certainly possible. Complete give up. That's possible, yeah.
See what happens this morning.
Complete give up.
Yes.
I love this guy. He is so fun to listen to. Yeah, that's possible. That's a good thing. Just a complete give up.
Yeah, just quit right now.
Do you imagine wrestling with him if he was your brother?
Man.
Just give up. It's a complete give
That's
up, Blake.
Right. Uncle.
Give up.
Uncle. Oh, man. He does seem perturbed, though, man. This is the most irritated I've heard him. I mean, if you just watch him on Air Force One and at the G7, probably hanging out with all those knuckleheads at the G7, but he is not happy.
I'm sure he enjoyed getting out of that meeting, though.
Oh,
at least a little bit, right?
I was thinking that same thing.
I wonder if this has to do with the defense capabilities of Canada. So
Possibly,
if you're worried about intercontinental ballistic missiles being fired off and possibly, in retribution, taking out that group, do you put your trust in Canada to protect you?
True. Very good point. I was thinking that same thing, though, about getting out of that G7. How can we get out of this thing? I mean, the views are great up here and everything, but let's blow this thing, this popsicle stand. Federal prosecutors have filed murder and stalking charges against the suspect accused of killing Minnesota State lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband. Vance Bolter is also charged with shooting State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. Both were hit multiple times but survived, and one recovering. The federal charges make Bolter eligible for the death penalty if fully convicted. Colorado Congressman Jeff Crank, District 5, in studio with the fellas last hour. Update on the big, beautiful bill.
No, I think we will get it passed. And the reason I believe that is I believe Republicans are committed. We're all in this together. This is President Trump's agenda, period. I mean, it's that simple. If it doesn't pass, there's a $4.5 trillion tax increase on the American people, the largest in American history. We can't let that happen. If it doesn't pass, we spend $150 billion less on our military. We spend less on base allowance for housing for our soldiers. We don't do oil and gas drilling in Anwar and offshore and open up the permitting process. These are all great things that are in this bill.
Police in Aurora investigating a shooting that critically wounded a 3-year-old boy. Police say the boy was shot at an apartment complex near East Centerpoint Drive Monday morning. The boy's mother told police she heard a gunshot in the house and then found her wounded son. He was taken to urgent care and then transferred to a local children's hospital. Investigators don't believe the wound was self-inflicted. The Florida Panthers have a chance to clinch their second straight Stanley Cup tonight when they take on the Edmonton Oilers for Game 6 in Sunrise. The Thunder, they lead 3-2 after beating the Pacers last night in Oklahoma City, 120-109 in the NBA Finals. Jalen Williams caught fire, 40 points. 59 in Greenwood Village, 58 in Broomfield, 60 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
What's the alternative? We've got Democrats who say, "Oh, you can't cut this, and you can't cut that. Oh, you can't touch this,
and you can't touch that." Boy, isn't that the truth? Jeff Crank there. Great to have him in the studio with Jeff and Billy. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cooler with a very good chance for more showers and thunderstorms in eastern Colorado and along the Front Range. Some will be strong to severe. Temperatures only reaching the mid-70s. Thunderstorms ending this evening. Lows tonight, low to mid-50s. Sunny, dry. Back to dry weather. Low to mid-80s on Wednesday. Sunny and hot. We're going to be deep into the 90s for Thursday and Friday. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, this headline coming from the New York Post in an opinion piece. Nearly 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported under Trump, which has led to higher wages, they say. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Andrew Arthur writes, while ICE arrests and deportations have grabbed headlines, President Trump is also running a separate but completely running a separate but complementary mass deportation program, one that encourages aliens here unlawfully to go home voluntarily. And if reports are correct, that plan is more successful than anyone could have imagined. Based on government data, their organization, the Center for Immigration Studies, has conservatively estimated that there are about 15.4 million illegal aliens in the United States, a 50% increase over the 4 tumultuous years of the Biden administration. That's no surprise, given how Biden and the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas ignored congressional detention mandates and ushered millions of illegal immigrants into the United States. Trump rode a wave of concern about the costs those migrants are imposing on schools, hospitals, housing, and essential government services in cities and towns across the United States to a second term. Now that he's back in the Oval Office, it's up to him, border czar Tom Homan, and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to drive the unauthorized population down and restore credibility to our immigration system. They've implemented a 2-track plan to tackle this onerous task. One of those tracks relies on arrests and deportations of aliens unlawfully here, which at the outset has focused mainly on criminals. The worst first strategy, it's called. The other track is a more subtle but also cheaper for taxpayers and arguably much more effective, encouraging illegal migrants here to self-deport. It began with an Inauguration Day directive requiring DHS to ensure all aliens present in the United States, legal or otherwise, have registered with the federal government and to prosecute those who don't comply. By late February, Noem had implemented the registration program. DHS next launched a multi-million-dollar ad campaign warning migrants not to enter the country illegally or alternatively to leave voluntarily now and possibly, quote, have an opportunity to return and enjoy our freedoms and live the American dream, unquote. Noem also rebranded the notorious CBP One app, which the Biden administration used to funnel hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants into our country, as CBP Home, which aliens can use to notify the U.S. government of their intent to depart. That rebranding coincided with an offer of financial incentives for aliens who leave voluntarily, a stipend of $1,000. That's in lieu of costly physical deportations, which can cost taxpayers $17,100 per person on average. So how effective has self-deportation been? One way to track the program is by checking employment numbers. One financial wizard cited by the Wall Street Journal calculated a decline in the immigrant population of 773,000 people in the first 4 months of Trump. The Washington Post claims, quote, 1 million foreign-born workers have exited the workforce since March, unquote. The Post frames this as a sign of a weakening labor supply, yet the paper also notes that average hourly wages have accelerated, rising by 0.4% over the month to $36.24 in May, as earnings continue to beat inflation and a boost to workers' spending power. In other words, with fewer illegal immigrants, businesses have had to raise wages to attract workers. But aliens will only leave if they believe Trump and Homan are serious about arrests, and employers know that the feds are targeting shady businesses. This voluntary exodus shouldn't be surprising. When President Dwight Eisenhower launched his deportation roundup in 1954, nearly 10 aliens left voluntarily for every one arrested. A post-9/11 registration program also drove self-deportations. DHS cannot arrest and deport 15.4 million illegal aliens, but if it simply enforces the law, many aliens will get the message and leave on their own, as hundreds of thousands apparently already have. This is how I thought it was going to play out exactly. Bill, your thoughts on this?
That's interesting. I mean, it's the idea of the self-deportation. I'm curious about getting to the 1 million number. Okay. And it's a minor increase in wages. Okay. It's going to constrain labor markets. Okay. Here's the weird part, though, is that if we'd go over like a visa program, etc., this would happen regularly. They would come into the country, perform labor, and then go home. And you'd necessarily, because there'd be more competition for them, you might get higher wages, etc., for them, just because they'd be under the visa program, not being able to work under the table. Okay, yeah, this is good. Does this mean now that America's great, that we've solved the problem? And the other part is, I have some questions as far as inside of the deportations. We're not getting solid numbers all the time out of the administration anymore, who they're targeting and why. We were told we're going to go after the most violent criminals. And I'm also curious on those that are leaving. Do they think that they're coming back, or they're just like, no, this is too much of a problem? I would be really curious, and we don't have this, is an exit interview as to why. Because I believe the assumption is going to be, oh, the government's coming to get me, and so I'm going to leave for X, Y, or Z. Okay, that could be the possibility. There could be other reasons, functionally, that they leave now and then could come back later. I don't know, but I'd be super curious as to the reasoning why. But okay, if we assume that it's a million illegals, alrighty. Yeah, that's good. Good on Trump for getting it done. And it will help the job market because of a constraint on labor. But understand then that can also hurt Trump's job growth numbers, and that's higher wages, which is that necessarily where we want to go with this? And if it is higher wages, because but I'm not going to go down that road right now. We may save that for later. So that's the idea. Is this necessarily what we want? Is the idea that we need to have these wage increases, and then everything else is going to cost more? That's fine. Okay. Yeah. Good on them for it, but I'm curious about the exit interview as to why they left. What was the motivation behind it? Was it that I was going to get swept up in these immigration deportations, that I didn't want to have to sit in a detention facility for several months, I was worried about getting separated from my family, I was worried about X, Y, or Z? Okay, but I'd be super curious to see what the reasoning is behind it, because otherwise I believe we are going to draw a number of false conclusions based on what we hope is happening. But again, I could be doing that as well myself too. So who knows? What do you think?
Well, I love and find fascinating the piece about Eisenhower and the amount of self-deportations that took place under him, roughly 10-1, right? So when you create this type of strong response that's taking place, you get, and I've always said this, there's reasonable people in this whole situation. You have criminals, you have the rapists and the murderers, you have the Tren de Aragua gang members, but you also have people that, are rather reasonable. They came up here without ever getting their name on a list, and they're going to leave quietly. But here's an interesting text message. This comes from the bread man. Are white liberals now amplifying the fear of ICE and therefore driving higher numbers of self-deportations? So if you're out there with all the videos and all the, oh my goodness, look how terrible ICE is, it's the Gestapo all over again, they're going to round you up and put you in camps. Well, now, if you're an immigrant, do you go, well, we're getting out of here? So are the white liberals out there marching actually driving higher numbers of self-deportations? I think that they probably are.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm unconvinced on that one. There could be a measure of those based on just the amplification of the message. But I think the fulcrum of the conversation comes down to who's a criminal. And that's been kind of the breaking point of this conversation even prior to the election, because there is a large assumption of the voter population that criminal meant once you're here, you break our laws, normally violently, because that what was sold to us during the presidential election cycle was all these violent criminals coming from elsewhere to come here and pillage America. We all heard Donald Trump talking about them opening up the prisons and the insane asylums all over the world and sending their worst here. So the sell was these illegal criminals are coming in here to enact violence upon the American public. I see no information showing us that any of these 1 million that have self-deported are in that group, that they are these violent criminals. There could be some in there. I don't think it would be a majority. I don't think that we could see that 60%, 70%, 80% of them are the violent people that were here to pillage America. It is probably more likely that they are the people that were working as the dishwasher. They're the person that was cleaning the hotel room. They were someone that was doing baggage possibly out of DIA. It's much more likely they're there. So yes, we can all say, okay, we want those illegals out of the country, sure. But is it solving the problem that we were sold earlier? And I think the ICE raids, the one thing that they're showing is that you do have some rights if you're not here pillaging America. So I think there's a little bit on both sides. I do think some people looked at it and went, I'm not going to take that kind of stress. I don't want to have to go through that with my family. And what also could be a mechanism for some of these lower level illegals would be the money. It costs money to hire a lawyer, and you can't always navigate the free lawyers. There are a whole bunch of organizations out there that offer free immigration attorneys, but they're not all free, and that's difficult to navigate the system. So there could be a number of people that are out there just leaving. What I'm unconvinced of so far is that of this million people that allegedly have self-deported, that we are having the people that have been released from all the worldwide jails and insane asylums. Those are the ones going home because, remember, that was the threat that we needed an increased ICE enforcement to protect ourselves from in the first place. So,
in my mind, it's not either or, it's both, and it's working. Trump has ICE, DHS, Kristi Noem, Tom Homan out there on the mean streets of Los Angeles and other places, getting the folks that need to go, doing the raids, making it happen. Meanwhile, I think the message has been sent to folks that, probably living here peacefully, living under the radar, that we're not going to mess around anymore. We're going to enforce immigration laws. Best you get out of here. And to this point, statistically, it is working. Nearly 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported under Donald Trump. Give us a call. Would love to hear from you. Do you support this? Are you happy that this is happening and Donald Trump's effort to strongly enforce our immigration laws is sending a clear message that people need to leave and they're getting out of here? Or is this ridding our communities of our neighbors and people that have been here for a long time. And so you feel disappointed about it, give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Lots of text messages coming in. Jason in Denver pointing out the economy during Eisenhower administration was completely different than it is today. So may have some effects there. All right, let's talk Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Pro-life, pro-faith, pro-family, pro-America. He's right there with us on all of the values that we care. You can trust him. He's a good man with solid values that spent 40 years of his life serving the people of Colorado. Listen to how he's delivered in the courtroom. When it regards to injury cases, Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted as an injury case law firm that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number. If you're in a car accident, you're injured in a case, you can pull up this phone number. Just put it in your phone right now. 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551. Or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Headline coming from an opinion piece in the New York Post. Nearly 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported under Trump, which has led to higher wages. So my argument, deport more by making raids stronger. What's happening is the illegal immigrant community is seeing that raids are taking place. If someone gets pulled over, the entire family can be deported. It is the strength that is leading to so many self-deportations of our immigration laws. They're getting the message. More raids, more operations. Get ICE out on the streets. Let's go. Let's walk block to block. That'll send a message. Bill, your thoughts?
I'm kind of thinking that seems very labor intensive and also very, very expensive. So why don't we do the typical American thing and throw more money at it? If we've gotten 1 million illegals to deport based on an incentive of $1,000, what happens if we double it? What happens if we triple it? What happens if we offer those potential illegals $5,000? $16,000 to deport. The numbers that I'm seeing online is it costs us about $16,000 to deport an illegal alien now. So that would be kind of the benchmark. If we're paying less than that, is it a financial win? Should we put less onus on the law enforcement men and women, spend less money there if they're going to leave? Part of the reason we gave them $1,000 is to incentivize it. If this is working so well, you would think if we increase the incentive, do we increase the self-deportations? So what I want to know.
So let's take that your argument.
Yeah.
That incentives matter financially.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and give them more money.
And,
if this works, if this is working as well.
And reverse it and cut off all their services.
Does that mean now if the idea is we're incentivizing them to leave, if we cut off their services, does that disincentivize them to leave? Does it? Because, that, or is it that, and the other part is the services, depends on the services we're talking about. Because we saw that some of these raids have been happening at, places they work. So that would be difficult because those people probably not necessarily receiving those services. So if I am, though, receiving services here and getting the free government check, you'd assume then that I could then take that government check and then just self-deport. So cutting off the services may not necessarily incentivize. I'm not sure. Or does that lead them to being crime?
So take the government check. The government, the $2,000 or the $1,000 in self-deport.
Yeah. What is it? Yeah,
I'm curious. To me, it's all forms of incentives, right?
Yeah.
That's how people respond. It's how institutions respond. And so across the board, increase the dollar amount to leave? Sure, I'd be open to it, especially since it costs us $17,000 to deport somebody. You can get it for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Raids, increase the raids, so you might be afraid to go to work that day illegally, and you're not sure you can get a steady paycheck anymore, and you don't know any day that may happen. Raids at work? Yes. You're going to get pulled over for running a red light and your entire family's going to get deported? Yes. In my mind, it's all of the above. Keep the pressure on. Keep it going. And our country is going to be better as a result of it. I mean, the city of Denver, we know this, spent $356 million over the course of 18 months to provide services to illegal immigrants. At this point, employees for the city of Denver are being furloughed because they ran out of money. So we spent money on services for illegal immigrants to believe that their contribution to our communities would be so great that it was worth spending $1 over there and not for the employee that works for the city of Denver. I think that needs to change. So you get the illegal immigrants out, you have more money, things are going to be better. It's time for them to go. All incentives are on the table in my mind.
Question for you. Is the fact that the Denver programs didn't convert that many immigrants, legal or otherwise, into the workforce a failure of the idea or a failure of the execution of this local program? If we put somebody else in charge and gave them a different program, could they see higher success? Are we just going to assume that because it's a government program, it's going to absolutely fail? Is there a way that it actually might work?
I don't see any way or reason why bringing, in that case, it was like 45,000 people into your community that have no roots in the community, that many left as a result of it, and then providing a bunch of services to them with the hopes that at some point maybe their tax revenue would offset the cost that you spent for them. No, it was Mike Johnston feel good. That's the whole policy it was.
Yeah.
It was, I believe that I'm being a good person by bringing in all these immigrants and empowering them and providing them with 6 months of apartment living and law attorneys and workforce training, and I feel good about myself. It was never going to pencil out. It didn't. It was a failure that all of us could see coming. Lo and behold, we're now living with the consequences of it.
Is that a function of his system or just a function on how it works in general? Because I would say that there are governmental programs that deal with getting people off of drugs and alcohol and productive members of our society that don't have the success rate of something like a Step Denver. They both have different programs, but one reaches better outcomes than another. That's why I ask with Mike Johnston, I believe it's a failure of the program that was instituted. If we could have a program, and again, I'm just hypothesizing. This is not anything that is set in stone, but just for the sake of argument, if I hypothesize that we can put in a system that gets 75 or 80% of those illegal immigrants into their own housing that's paid for, and they have a job that is generating tax revenue, even if they're only here temporarily while we're doing asylum, etc. If we're able to convert them at that rate, to me, that's a success of the government spend as far as money. Again, we'd have to talk about what that top number is, but when we saw the conversion rate from arrival into work from the Mike Johnston program, it was less than 10%. That is a failure in any workforce, in any program, in any educational system, in any scientific study. If you had a vaccine and it had less than 10% efficacy, you have a crappy vaccine. You have a crappy program. So could we maybe have achieved better results with a better program?
Lots of text messages coming in on this, Bill. This is a good retort to your idea of increasing pay. 8422. And by the way, we're talking about nearly 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported. So not requiring on ICE and deportation efforts. They've just left. So is Trump's strong enforcement of our immigration laws working? Bill offered, because we all know about the $1,000. Bill said, well, what if we increase it to $2,000 or $3,000? I said I'd be open to that. I think this is a better idea. This comes from 8422. Instead of increasing the money, put a deadline on the $1,000 they can receive, so they have to hurry up and get out. You're a sponsor.
I'm not convinced on that one, and the reason why is if they entered the country illegally, I'm hesitant to say they think they're going to be found illegally per se. And I think putting a constraint on it that, hey, we have to go now you're having that individual take that balance and say, well, based on our lives, based on a potentiality of getting picked up by ICE, is that $1,000 worth it? How far does that go? And so what I'm saying is, you have let's say just you and a spouse, or you and one kid, or even if it's just a solo, how far is that $1,000 going to get you out of the country and back starting a life at the new place versus taking the chances here? Because, and what I'm saying by that $1,000 threshold is, if I'm here and I'm picked up by the U.S. and I'm sent back home, well, I just didn't have to pay for my own travel, and I have several $100s that I don't have anymore because I would have taken it from the U.S. government. That to me is the total loss isn't significant. If we would say, I think where the texter head might have a good idea is if we say you get $10,000 and here's the deadline. Now I think you have an incentive that matters because of the carryover financially of what those people would be bringing back to their own country. Now I think you've got a financial incentive for them to go home with some American greenbacks. Under $1,000, I don't think there's necessarily that advantage because we all know how expensive a plane ticket is, and then you got to get back home and start to set up a life. So the residual money that is left over after $1,000, I don't think is necessarily that much of an incentive. That's why I think that if you increase it, you have more of an incentive to leave, even though it seems counterintuitive.
Give us a call, join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115.
Would you give more money or would you give more raids? Yeah, what would you don't pick? It's like A or B.
The Babylon Bee headline,
from column B.
After deportations, Mexican restaurants forced to replace mariachi bands with barbershop quartets.
That's funny. That's really good.
I haven't seen my favorite Mexican restaurants all that affected so much. So
yeah, I haven't seen any so far.
No,
I'll have to see. However, shout out to the Onion that just the other day had a headline where it said Kristi Noem gives interview wearing fireman's hat, night vision goggles, and a SEAL wetsuit. No one knows why. Just because of how she dresses up every time she's interviews. That was funny. That was good.
There you go.
She puts on a costume all the time.
Tony from Denver saying, one day soon, the xenophobic, racist mass deportations. Yes, racist, because you don't see ICE going after the established 500,000 Europeans living here illegally, will teach us the hard way that those people contribute way more to the economy than they take. Even the Wall Street Journal concedes that mass deportations are having a negative economic impact. I don't know. Wages are going up.
Yeah, but there will be the labor market will constrain, and there will be some negative impacts because of it, because we're taking people out of the economy. That's going to happen.
The response I would have to Tony is, would you make the same arguments during slavery? That we shouldn't ban slavery because of the negative economic impacts. Well, in this case, you rely on cheap labor paid to human beings that are here illegally. I don't know, Tony. Give me a call. Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. All right, we all know the crime problems we have in Colorado. And for many of you business owners out there facing the soft on crime policies of the state of Colorado, you got to have an alarm system that can protect your business. Alarm Detection Systems provides the highest level of service and expertise, making sure your business can stay open. Think about all the time you could be saving if you just had one source for your cameras, key card access, fire and intrusion systems. Well, Alarm Detection Systems offers expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same day or next day service upon request, dedicated teams for cameras, access control, and fire alarms, and over 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected, will be ready to open tomorrow. They combined human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology to prevent crime in real time. Trusted by small and large businesses, including many Colorado schools, their security experts will review your system for free. Visit adsalarm.com to schedule your appointment today. adsalarm.com. Alarm Detection Systems, the first choice of Front Range and Colorado businesses. adsalarm.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Headline from the New York Post, an opinion piece: nearly 1 million illegal immigrants have self-deported under Trump, which is leading to higher wages. So, how do we keep it going? Bill suggesting, well, increase the benefit to leave a little bit, offer them a little bit more money. You saw originally it's $1,000 and a plane ticket out of here. Maybe we increase it. Some saying on the text message 0635, do $5,000 per person, but only within 30 days, and we'll send you to the country of your choice. Responding text message saying, nope, no more money because we're rewarding bad illegal behavior. The biggest incentive should be if you self-deported, you give yourself the opportunity to return in a correct manner. Increase the raids, pedal to the metal, make it more painful. What do you think? Let's go to the phone lines. Ben Morrison, good morning. Ben, you're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. What's on your mind? What do you want to say about immigration? Do we give them more money, or do we crack down with more raids? What's your idea?
Oh, I don't think it's really going to be a very successful endeavor, honestly. I don't know. I've spent a lot of time in Guatemala and Honduras and Panama, Costa Rica, going around there. And if you ever go down in those areas, there's some areas that are very second world, like Costa Rica is very second world, Mexico's second world. But when you get into Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, and like out into the very poor districts, you're looking around at homes that are literally built out of sticks that have a tarp on the top of them and have, their toilet is a bucket, like a plastic 5-gallon bucket. So you can kick them out, but their incentive might be just to come right back, because it's not a big deal for them. Because they don't have anything to lose. They really don't have anything to lose. Like, they're not in a worse situation there. Like, if you put them in a prison in the U.S., that's still better living conditions than a lot of the banana farmers and stuff like that have down in those areas. It really, really is.
What would you propose, Ben, America should do in light of this?
I would propose more work visas for these people and have them pay taxes and, make sure they're in the system, have a path for legal immigration. If they're committing crimes, absolutely export them. But if they're not, if they're just, if Raul's going and building a home and he's got a family here and he's not causing any problems, I'm okay with having those people here. I see fat guys in rascal scooters that aren't doing crap, and I'd rather deport that guy than have Raul who's contributing to society.
That's very funny. That's good. Now, what do you think about this, Ben? Calling us from Morrison, the idea of the self-deportation, and in order to get the $1,000, or even if we increase it to $5,000-$6,000, in order to get that incentive, you put yourself on a list. Is there a disincentive to get put on a list either because you're picked up by ICE or because you self-deport? And the reason I'm asking that is because any administration could then take that list and say, these lists, the people that were deported, they can never, ever, 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 ever come back. I know there's this promise of you can get into the line and you can start the process of immigrating legally to the U.S., but we could easily change our mind tomorrow and say, since you snuck in here once, we no longer trust you. So is the idea of ending up on a list a disincentive?
I would say that would be an incentive for immigration more than anything. Like, if you're somebody that reported yourself, that's like a kid that's like, hey, I stole a candy bar and I'm acknowledging that. You walk back up to the store owner and hand it back to him and then, pay the dollar, So if you're going to do that, I think you're more incentivized to get access to a green card or get, in the line for immigration status.
Would you
my
trust,
2 cents on that.
Would you trust the American government? And what I'm saying by that is we just recently had the most wonderful trade agreement between Mexico and the U.S., and our current president decided that deal that he did no longer good. So are you maybe waiting on the whims of American politicians, and maybe since you put yourself on a list, later on you can be decided that, oh no, that's the specific list of people that can never come back? Is that a risk?
Yes, it is definitely a risk because we change, we change with the trade winds every 4 years, depending on what the administration is going to do, depending on what Congress is, depending on what that makeup is. That's one of the things that's actually bad about America is we're not very consistent. That's one of the advantages, unfortunately, that authoritarian regimes like Russia and China have is, those guys are going to be in power for forever, basically until they die. Putin and Xi Jinping, they're going to be in power forever. So they get some consistency at least, but I'm not saying I'm condoning anything that they do.
Yeah,
but,
just consistently
they don't have to swap back and forth every couple of years.
7586 texting in. Yes, deport the Democrats and keep the immigrants. There you go. All right, Ben, I sure appreciate you taking time to join the show. Thank you so much. 2247 saying, my fear is that we give immigrants $1,000 to leave. The cartels south of the border will attack them, take their money away. Well, I'm not sure you get a stack of hundreds. Get off the airplane.
And that's the other part is the other part that I have difficulty with is where do you put the money? Because I'm guessing that if let's say you're
Western Union,
but let's say you're from Guatemala, do you have a Guatemalan bank account? So is the bank account here, and then you'd have to reach back into America and transfer it back. And how easy would it be for America just to turn that off and say, nope, so sorry, no more going out of the country? So,
I think Trump's strong, tough take on immigration is sending a clear message to everybody. You got to get out. It's time to get out, and it's working. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader. This is News Talk 710 KNUS.